Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today, I'm going to be making my case for why I think Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers are the perfect match for each other heading into the 2025 season, and why I think the four-time NFL MVP will have a big-time bounce-back season right here in the Steel City. Before we get into the content today, make sure you guys stay tuned for what Pittsburgh needs to do this season in order for this signing to be worth it. Make sure you click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you believe in Rodgey like I do, really do appreciate all of your guys' support. It's a free and easy way to help out the channel, boost the YouTube algorithm, and puts this video in front of even more Steelers fans. So thank you guys so much for all of your support. And with that, let's get into my first reason why I think Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers are a perfect match, which is the similar win now timetable. Obviously, Rodgers is 41 years old. He has one, maybe two more seasons left before he ends up hanging up the cleats and retiring. And lo and behold, the Pittsburgh Steelers have another player on this roster that has 2 years left until he retires, and that is Captain Cam Hayward, who, of course, despite, probably a future Hall of Fame career, doesn't have a ring on his finger as a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Steelers right now are trying to go all in to try and win a Super Bowl so that Cam Hayward can retire a champion. And, of course, Rodgers is looking to get one more Super Bowl ring before he ends up calling it quits himself. Now, inexperienced playoff quarterbacks don't win titles, plain and simply, guys. So all the people saying the Steelers should have drafted a quarterback this year or they should have went with Justin Fields, who had zero playoff experience as a starter, it's just, if you're looking to win a Super Bowl, I'm just telling you guys, the people that don't have any experience in the playoffs usually don't win playoff games, and that's not an issue with Aaron Rodgers. Right now, among active NFL quarterbacks, he has the most games played in the playoffs compared to any starting quarterback. It's kind of crazy that Patrick Mahomes is already just one game behind Rodgers at this point, but Rodgers is still number one in that category. So if you're looking for somebody that's not going to be afraid of the big moment, Aaron Rodgers has been on that stage literally dozens of times at this point, and he's not going to be afraid of that big stage when and if the Steelers get there. Now, Pittsburgh's plan to try and compete for a Super Bowl this year is they kind of understood, especially after Matthew Stafford wasn't going to get traded and he was going to stay in L.A., that they really didn't have any option out there on the open market where they could have gotten a truly elite quarterback. So their plan is to do what the Eagles did last year, bring in a smart, experienced, and competent quarterback, and then surround him with an elite defense and strong run game. And in my opinion, that is exactly how the Philadelphia Eagles were able to win the Super Bowl last year and kick Patrick Mahomes' ass in the Super Bowl last year with that strategy. They had an elite defense with a really good pass rush. Sound familiar, Steelers fans? They had a really good run game led by one of the best running backs in football. The Steelers are hoping Caleb Johnson can be a first-year breakout player this year. And then Jalen Hurts, although he is a very good quarterback, definitely a top 10 guy, I don't think he's among the elite of the elites like the Mahomeses and Allens and Lamars of the world. I think he's a very competent quarterback that is very accurate. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and he's perfect for their system. And the Steelers feel like they have the quarterback now in Aaron Rodgers, who doesn't make mistakes, has really good arm talent, can get the ball where it needs to go, where he can be the Steelers' version of that competent quarterback that hopefully is surrounded by a very good supporting cast. This defense is excellent. They're hoping the run game takes a big step forward this year. And honestly, guys, what I'll say right now about Rodgers is don't be shocked if he plays 2 years for this team. All right, the Steelers will almost certainly draft a quarterback in the first round next spring, but it's very possible that, let's say they go to the AFC Championship game and they're really close and Rodgers wants to sign another one-year contract on a team-friendly deal to try and run it back for one more season to try and get him and Cam Hayward a ring before they both retire after the 2026 season. I absolutely think that's on the table, especially if Rodgers has a successful season and the Steelers are close but don't quite get to that Super Bowl goal. So let me know down there in the comments section, Do the Steelers have any chance at a title with Aaron Rodgers as their starting quarterback over this year or next year? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comments section for today's pinned question. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by simply giving me a yes or a no down there in the comments. The second reason why I think Rodgers and the Steelers are a perfect match is because Aaron Rodgers, let's face it, has had some tough breaks in recent seasons, all right? Now, we haven't seen Rodgers play at his best since 2021 when he won his last NFL MVP trophy with the Green Bay Packers back in 2021. And since then, the numbers have not been the same. You guys can see there in 2021, the numbers were incredible. Over 4,100 yards passing, 37 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions, an incredibly high QBR. But then in 2022 and 2024, his final seasons, both with the Packers and the Jets, very similar numbers, around 3,700 yards, around 27 touchdowns, and around 11 or 12 interceptions with a QBR somewhere around 45. So very consistent numbers the last 2 seasons where he has played the entire year. And, of course, he had that torn Achilles back in 2023. But during those seasons, some really bad stuff happened to Rodgers, all right? Let's rewind the clock here. Back in 2022, he played through a broken thumb that he suffered versus the New York Football Giants in London early on in the season. After that injury, they went on a 5-game losing streak where Rodgers did not play close to his best. So, I mean, having a broken thumb on your throwing hand and playing through that, that's something that's very difficult to do. Then another thing, too, to remember is that Davante Adams that offseason left for the Las Vegas Raiders. So his number 1 receiver was Allen Lazard, who stinks. Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs were both extremely young players, and Robert frickin' Tonyan was his number 3 receiver in terms of total receiving yards that year. So they also dealt with a lot of injuries in that room, and he just didn't have the best wide receiver talent around him that season. Then, of course, he goes to New York. There's a bunch of hype surrounding the New York Jets, and then 4 snaps into the season, he tears his Achilles. Obviously, that season doesn't really count towards his career record. And then in 2024, he is back, but he is still coming back from that Achilles injury. And also, everything around him with the New York Jets organization was in complete disarray. They replaced both their head coach and Robert Saleh after just 5 games last year and a 2-3 start, and they replaced Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, later on that season as well. So complete disarray, complete shifting of the coaching staff during the season. Also, the defense was terrible after the firing of Saleh. We'll go over some numbers here in just a second. And there was also no run game to speak of. So Rodgers was literally tasked with carrying the entire New York Jets football team last year. And you guys can see here the defensive stats after Robert Saleh was fired. All right, 29th in points per game allowed, 30th in EPA per play allowed, and then 29th in success rate allowed. So this is a defense that has Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, and a lot of people think it's a good defense. After Robert Saleh left last year, it was one of the worst in football, and they gave up a ton of points a game. 26.5 per game is a really, really big number. And then you look at the run game, they were 31st in rush yards per game. They couldn't really run the football effectively, and because of that, they were one of the most pass-heavy teams in the National Football League, and defenses knew that Aaron Rodgers and the Jets were throwing the football. And the reality of the situation, guys, the reason why third down success rates, especially on 3rd and long and 2-minute drills, all these different things are so unsuccessful in the National Football League today is because if a defense knows you're throwing the football, it is so much easier on the defense. So Aaron Rodgers had to play in a very, very tough environment there in New York last year. And then not only that, but the special teams was terrible as well. They were 30th in field goal make percentage, and their special teams literally cost them some football games that Aaron Rodgers would have led the Jets to victory from if they would have just made their field goals. But they didn't, and guess what? Aaron Rodgers is now coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers, where Chris Boswell had a 93% field goal make percentage, so I'm guessing he's happy about that. But another thing, after all this crap going around Rodgers last year with the coaching situation and the defense sucking and no run game, he was also injured last year. Not only was he still recovering from that Achilles, which most people say it takes 2 years to fully recover from an Achilles tear, especially at his age, but he also had a grade 2 hamstring strain, which is a partial tear that he was playing through, so that limited his mobility even more. And then he also had a low ankle sprain and an MCL knee sprain that he was fighting through, and he played all 17 games despite that, and he still put up a stat line of 28 passing touchdowns, the same amount of passing touchdowns as the MVP of the league, Josh Allen. Not to say he played as well as Allen, I'm not saying that, but he definitely put up some decent production last year for somebody that had a terrible situation there in New York. He can still play, guys, and Rodgers is at his healthiest now since he was in 2021, right? Like, he hasn't been this healthy since the beginning of that New York Jets campaign in 2023. And of course, we all know how that worked out. He tore his Achilles. But we haven't seen Rodgers this healthy or this mobile since 2021 when he won league MVP. Not to say he's going to do that, but he is somebody that I think is absolutely got an opportunity to have a bounce-back season this year because, in my opinion, he can still play. And that is our third reason today why I think this is a perfect match. I think he can still sling that thing with the best of them. I still think his arm talent overall is borderline top 5 in the National Football League today. It's definitely still in the top 10. And, I think that if anybody is going to repeat Tom Brady's kind of post-40 success with a new team, I think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. They're both all-time great quarterbacks. They're both all-time great football minds. And like Brady when he was, in the later stages of his career, he hasn't lost his arm strength. You guys can see here, and Brady's age 42 season, his final season with the New England Patriots. Everybody thought he was done, all right? The completion percentage was way down. The efficiency with yards per attempt was way down. The touchdown percentage was far below his career average, and his passer rating was below a 90. And then you look at what happened the following year. He went to a 7-9 Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, a non-playoff team the year before, and you can see the numbers. They skyrocketed, way higher completion percentage, over a yard more per attempt, almost doubling his touchdown percentage and his quarterback rating, getting back to over 100. And, oh, yeah, they won the freaking Super Bowl that year when Tom Brady was 43 years old, currently older than what Aaron Rodgers is now. And you compare Brady's final season in New England to Rodgers' final season in New York, and even with everything around Rodgers completely crumbling, the coaching, the defense, the run game, Rodgers dealing with injuries himself, he still put up better numbers his final season in New York than Brady, the all-time GOAT, did his final season in Foxborough, okay? And I'm just going to tell you guys something right now. From my experience evaluating quarterbacks, the way that a quarterback is done due to age is when they lose their arm talent, when they lose that arm strength, and they're no longer able to fit the ball into windows that they used to be able to hit it and throw that ball into, and now they can, and it leads to more interceptions, and you just can't overcome that. With Rodgers, that is not the case. He still has his arm talent. He still has that lightning quick release. He still has that easy gas, as I like to put it, where he doesn't have to put a lot of effort into his fastball. He can still sling it. His arm talent is still among the league's best, in my opinion. Plus, you look at what he's got up top, he still has an elite football mind. I mean, people that talk about the way Rodgers talks about the game with them, I mean, it's like savant, genius level stuff from Aaron Rodgers, all right? And he's still bringing that even at 41 years old. So when it comes to playing Tom Brady's style of ball, Brady had to live from the pocket his entire career because he wasn't very mobile. That's the type of ball that Rodgers at this point, now that he's less mobile, is going to have to play here in Pittsburgh. And, I think that he can do all these things. I think Rodgers can live in the pocket because he does play with elite processing. He can get the ball out quickly. He can protect the football. Rodgers has the lowest interception percentage in league history and the highest touchdown to interception ratio. And then play efficient football with the way that you can think about the game and throw the football still. And Rodgers has legendary pocket presence as well, just as Brady did. I think that Aaron Rodgers can absolutely replicate that post-40 success that we saw from Tom Brady in Tampa Bay right here in Pittsburgh. Now, before we get into my other reasons why I think Rodgers is a perfect fit, why I think he will succeed here in the Steel City this year, go ahead and get his jersey from our friends at Fanatics today by going to chatsports.com/AR8. You guys can use that link. It's in the comments and description of today's show. And if you click that link and you make a purchase, Fanatics sends us part of the proceeds here at Steelers Talk. So part of your money goes to us to help us pay for new graphics, pay for rent, to keep the lights on, all the different stuff that we need to do here at Chat Sports to give you guys the best damn Steelers coverage money can buy, 100% free. So if you're planning on getting an Aaron Rodgers Steelers jersey, you can get that done today and help out the channel. All you have to do is go to chatsports.com/AR8 and make a purchase. Not only do I think Aaron Rodgers can still play, but I think that he is actually a really good fit within Arthur Smith's offense and what they kind of feel, is the right strategy for this offense heading into the 2025 season. I think Rodgers has played his best football in his career when he has played in a system like this, in a Shanahan-style offense like Arthur Smith runs here in Pittsburgh. Under center, play action, throwing the ball over the middle of the field. These were some of the tenets of the Matt LaFleur offense that allowed Rodgers to have some of the best years of his career. And like we said earlier, now that he's more healthy than he's been in previous seasons, I think that he absolutely can get back to playing at a very high level within this offense. And another thing here too, guys, is that Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator here in Pittsburgh, is not going to ask too much of Aaron Rodgers, all right? They're going to be pretty run-heavy, in my opinion. I think Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson will get a lot of work, and Arthur Smith understands that the modern NFL defense, it's built to defend the passing game, and right now the run game is making a big-time resurgence, and the best offenses in the league are the ones that can run the football effectively. So expect to see a lot of rushing the football from the Steelers this year, which means Rodgers' role is essentially as like a good game manager. Take care of the football. Don't throw interceptions. Get rid of the ball fast. Don't take too many sacks. And then, yes, when you do get into a 3rd and long, or, you do get into a 2-minute drill situation, make a big throw when needed. And you guys can see the numbers from last year for Rodgers. I think he's more than capable of doing all 4 of these things. He was still top 5 in turnover-worthy play percentage last year. He was top 6 in average time to throw using that elite mental processor. He limits sacks a lot better than Russell Wilson or Justin Fields did last year. And then, the big-time throw percentage in the big-time throws, 26 of them last year. That's still ranked top 10. So I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers right now as somebody that can absolutely fit within Arthur Smith's offense, and I'm really looking forward to seeing, what kind of production he can put up in this offense, because I think it fits his strengths, and it's not going to be asking too much of him, which I think will allow him to play his best football. Then the final reason why I think this is a perfect match here is because of the head coach, Mike Tomlin. Now, you guys know, I don't think Tomlin is a perfect head coach. He has his flaws. But the one thing that he can do is he can control a locker room, and he can keep a locker room focused. All right? And I think that when you look at Rodgers and, the hype that comes along with having him on your team. We saw it with the New York Jets. Robert Saleh was not able to handle the hype, and he was not able to corral that locker room to reach their potential. Mike Tomlin, I think, is the type of guy that can do that. He said it in his press conference during mandatory minicamp this week when it talked about why they brought in Rodgers. He's like, we won't make any bold predictions. We're just going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to go to work. All right. And that tells me that his mentality here is we haven't done anything yet. All right. Just having Aaron Rodgers on our team is not enough. All right. Coach T realizes that you got to put in the work and you got to do the things on the practice field to be able to, play your best football come NFL Sunday. So I think that Coach T is the perfect head coach to keep the team focused throughout this kind of distraction-filled offseason and training camp, because there's going to be a lot of media attention on this team because of Aaron Rodgers' presence on the roster. But I think if there's any head coach that's built to keep a team kind of on the tracks despite the hype, I think it's Coach T. Now, the big question for me, guys, and the big question on everybody's mind that I want to talk about here is what does success look like? And there's been a lot of discussion about this, and there's a lot of interesting takes on this. Some people think the Steelers need to win the Super Bowl for this signing to be worth it. Some people think they have to win a playoff game in order for this signing of Aaron Rodgers to be worth it. For me, I have a little bit more of a subjective metric here, which is I want them to give themselves a chance to win a Super Bowl, all right, and be within that quote-unquote Super Bowl bubble. And if you guys don't know what that Super Bowl bubble is, it's usually that group of 6 to 8 teams that forms every single year that come playoff time, it feels like they have a legitimate chance to go on a run and win a Super Bowl championship. And even if the Steelers aren't like the best team in the league or in that group of like 3-4 like legitimate Super Bowl favorites, if they can get inside that Super Bowl contender kind of bubble of 6 to 8 teams and be in the top quarter of teams in the National Football League, I think that's what the Steelers are bringing Aaron Rodgers in to do. And let's face it, guys, that would be a step up from where the Steelers have been in recent seasons. The offense here in Pittsburgh with guys like Matt Canada at OC and Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and Russell Wilson, Justin Fields at quarterback, it just hasn't been good enough to really get inside that bubble where the Steelers had a legitimate chance to win a Super Bowl. But with a guy like Rodgers, and if he has as good of a season as I think he's going to have, like we detailed earlier in today's show, I think that's absolutely something that could take the Steelers to the next level here. And if the Steelers have a legit chance with Rodgers this year, even if they don't exactly get there and they don't win it in the end, I think that'll do, because the Steelers, the reason why they're bringing him in is to give him a chance. So if it feels like by the time we get to the postseason here that the Steelers are among the 6 to 8 best teams in the league and they've got a legitimate chance to catch fire and win a Lombardi trophy this year, that is exactly what they're bringing Rodgers in to do. So if they do that, I think it'll be worth it. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. What defines success for the Rodgers-led Steelers? All right, what do the Steelers need to do this year or next year to be able to justify this signing? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. I know today was a little bit of a beast. It was very extensive, but it was one of my favorite videos I've ever done for this channel. So make sure you guys click the subscribe button if you haven't already. We're going to continue to give you guys extensive Aaron Rodgers and Steelers coverage every single day for free on this channel. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.